Welcome back to a special episode of At the Hill on the Rocket Productions Network. I'm your host, Danielle McPherson, and today we are going to visit with Courtney Wilson. If you have missed any episodes of At the Hill, go find the Rocket Productions Network on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, or any place you listen to podcasts. All of our episodes are also on the Rocket Productions YouTube channel. If you are not a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. Be sure to check out Rocket Productions on Instagram and Facebook. Let's get into it. So, Mrs. Wilson, how has your first year of teaching gone?
It's gone really good. A lot better than I expected being a first-year teacher. So, as long as I'm not failing at anything, I feel like I'm doing pretty good.
How is it transitioning from being a student teacher to having your own class?
With student teaching, you have a co-teacher. So, some days I would be teaching and other days he would be teaching. So, going from every other day or every other class going to all day myself kind of puts a little strain on the vocal cords, but it's been a great experience.
Oh yeah, I bet. What made you decide to teach English?
So growing up, my grandma was actually a high school English teacher, and so I just remember us reading together all the time and her helping me with my reading and just like my English classes. So she was my inspiration into becoming an English teacher.
Was English your favorite subject growing up?
It was my favorite subject growing up, yes.
I was going to say that would make a lot of sense to teach something you like.
Yeah. Now, if I was teaching math, I don't know what I would do with myself because I am not a math person.
Yeah, I bet. And we'll be right back after this commercial.
Robotics is a club offered at Rose Hill High School. They are dedicated to teamwork and responsibility, collaborating and working together to build and code a functional robot that will go to various competitions throughout the year with a chance to make it to the Best Robotics National Competition. If you are interested in joining robotics this year, make sure to talk to Ryan Hale or Chase Owens.
And we're back with Courtney Wilson. So, what made you decide to teach at Rose Hill?
Doing my student teaching here was a really great experience, and I always knew I wanted more of a small school, small town. While I was teaching, growing up in Derby, you are in class with 30 kids. Hallways, you're always seeing someone with a new face, but I like more of having connections with my students and seeing them more often, and just having that connection is really what drove me here.
So when you were student teaching, did you teach at like a high school level here, or did you go somewhere else?
So I was at the middle school with 8th graders with Phil Van Horn, and then I came up here and was with Carrie Redinger for a couple days. I kind of knew that high school was where I wanted to be, but being in the middle school, it was kind of intimidating coming up a little bit just because I was used to kids younger, a lot younger, and then I come up and I'm teaching kids that are like 4 years younger than me, but it's still, I wouldn't change my decision for anything.
Well,
I love
great.
being up here.
What's your least favorite part about teaching?
The grading. That's probably my least favorite. I went from doing half the grading to all of the grading. And Phil Van Horn, if you're listening to this, help me grade things.
And when you're doing teaching, do you do like a whole bunch of projects, or do you try to stray away from the big grading aspects?
No, I try to do projects. Sometimes it's a little hard to do in the middle of books, but I try to do something before and after each book that we do.
That's really smart. And what is your favorite part of teaching?
Probably the conversations I have with kids. Sometimes it goes off the walls, and sometimes it's just, rather than just teaching 100% of the time, you still can make those connections with kids. I feel like it's easier to teach if you have those relationships with students.
So would you say that you stray away from the lesson a little bit, or are you kind of like a looser teacher when it comes to that stuff?
That's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
I feel like I can be strict with it, but sometimes if kids are asking questions about the book, it's easier to stray off, especially when they're getting more creative and into the book, especially with a book that a lot of them are not into. I'll stray off a little bit, but most of the time I like to stay. But if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
Do you have a preferred grade to teach?
No, I love my juniors and seniors. They're both fun to teach. I love a lot of the books that we're reading, so I like my grade levels.
That's good.
And do you have a favorite class you like to teach?
It changes every day. It changes every day. Some days it's your first hour, and other days it's your 5th hour. It just depends on how good of a day everyone's having.
Makes sense.
Thank you for watching and listening to At the Hill on the Rocket Productions Network. Remember to subscribe to the Rocket Productions Network on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, or any place you listen to podcasts. If you're not already a subscriber to the Rocket Productions on YouTube, please subscribe. I'm Teagan Hobson. See you next time.